So I'm Caitlin. I'm working with Dr. Gozin as well as Dr. Beckman. And we're working on direct ink writing and ceramic pictures composites. Specifically, we're interested in looking at the process structure property relationships that happen during DIW. And so first, to motivate ceramic matrix composites really briefly. So we all know ceramics are great materials. They're highly thermally and chemically stable, and they have high mechanical strength, but they have a low fracture toughness. And so they can fail brutally, and we want to combat that by adding in reinforcement phase, which is what you do in a ceramic composite. So these reinforcements, which might be a solid particulate or a fibrous additive, which is what we're interested in, will essentially stop crack propagation through the grain structure and thus increase the fracture toughness of your part, as well as provide other optical properties such as wear resistance. And with these improved mechanical properties, you'll see these materials in a lot of high performance applications, such as thermal protection of structural parts and high temperature environments. So these are just a couple conventional ceramic matrix composite processing methods. They usually just follow conventional ceramic processing methods where you have different casting or injection molding, etc. You might lay down continuous fibers in your part, you add that fiber phase. But there are two key things that we want to improve upon in the processing of the material that I want to highlight. Namely, those are the geometric complexity of your final part and the microstructural control that is just lacking in ceramic mixture composites. So that brings us to our manufacturing process of choice, which is direct ink writing, or DIW. So DIW is an extrusion-based additive manufacturing technique where you have your syringe that is full of an ink. This ink is just a liquid-based precursor that I'm going to talk about on the next slide. And you have the syringe full of ink and you subject it to a back pressure, either pneumatic or lead screw driven, and that ink subsequently flows into a nozzle, is extruded through that nozzle and out onto a build plate. And so basically, because of the way this method works, as long as your material can flow, you can use it in direct ink writing. And that and that means that you can use a wide variety of materials. So you can have these liquid materials loaded with whatever type of particle you want. And interestingly, studies have shown that the flow mechanisms that these materials are subjected to during this process leads to particle alignment, meaning that not only can you create complex geometries with this method, but you can create unique microstructures that are not possible with the conventional process that I talked about before. Additionally, in the case of ceramic matrix composites, specifically chalk fiber composites kind of suffer in their manufacturing compared to continuous fiber counterparts in the fact that they're more difficult to process and you have basically subpar mechanical performance when you compare chalk fiber parts to directly to continuous fiber parts. And this method will essentially help us create parts loaded with these chalk fibers that can then compete with the continuous fiber counterparts. So these are the materials that we're using. We have a liquid solvent called SMP10. It's a silicon carbide yielding free ceramic polymer. When I say free ceramic polymer, it's just a polymer with a unique chemistry. It's a polycarbosilane, and when you pyrolyze it to a certain temperature, it yields silicon carbide. And so we use that as our solvent, and we dissolve zirconium diboride and, of course, our silicon carbide chopped fibers. So I've listed here just the goals of this project. We want to develop this 3D printable CNC ink, and of course, elucidate these process structure property relationships for direct ink writing. And in doing that, we want to be able to decouple the shear flow and wall slip contributions of ink flow during direct ink writing, which we're going to talk about more later. And we want to be able to correlate all of this stuff that we find out to the microstructure of our part, and then evaluate all of those relationships using data science. So now to get into some of my results, one of the first things we wanted to do before beginning to look at the flow was just to kind of see what we're working with. So we wanted to look at the microstructure of our part and make sure that sintering was happening at the sintering conditions that we were giving it. So we were doing pressureless sintering under argon flow over an 8-hour ramp to, sorry, it's not an 8-hour ramp, 8-hour dwell at 1700 degrees Celsius. And we saw that there was sintering happening. The lighter particles here are our zirconium diboride. So we were satisfied with the microstructure that we saw, and we wanted to characterize the composition that we were left with as well. And we did that doing some Friedfeld refinements on XRD patterns. We basically wanted to find out, of course, what our composition is, but also like how much are we oxidizing, because we know we're going to be oxidizing, and can we minimize the oxidation we're seeing. We haven't done any more work in terms of how we can limit the oxidation that we're seeing. We just wanted a quantity to verify that we do have oxide present in our sample, which we do, and have all of our constituent concentrations here. But for the time being, we were satisfied with the composition that we saw and went forward with our flow characterization. So to characterize flow, we are using 3 different experimental methods. We have capillary rheometry, which is the most closely related to 3D printing, because we're using our print head and we're extruding our material from our nozzle and extracting pressure flow rate relationships. We're also doing rotational rheometry, where we have our ink squeezed between 2 plates and we shear it, we rotate the material and shear it. And we also have started doing squeeze flow rheometry. This is new, where we have our material that we are compressing between 2 plates and extracting the change in diameter as the material compresses. There we go, video did play. But yeah, so the goal of these 3 characterization methods is to use all of them to simultaneously fit and create a robust flow model to decouple the shear flow and also. Okay, so in shear rheology, we're doing a lower rate shear flow data. So we have a material that's undergoing 100% shear flow. We assume that no slip is happening. And we use this to determine the yield stress. Of course, we're going to use the data to, like, in our model as well, but we want to make sure that we have a material that can reasonably be printed with. We aim for about 1000 pascals, which is what we're seeing here in our newest composition. Yeah. We also do squeeze flow rheometry, like I said, where we look at the change in the change in the diameter of the ink at the center of the filament, as well as at the plates, so that we can best monitor the shape of the material as it's compressed. And this method looks at perfectly slipping material. So we're under the assumption that our materials are undergoing 100% slip with no shear flow. So the exact opposite of our rotational rheometry method. And we can validate that, but confirm that by looking at the flow rate data that we get from squeeze flow, where if we have overlapping lines in our flow curve, say flow is happening. This is a new method that we're still working out the kinks of, as you can see from the one trial here that is significantly lower. More data has been collected. We're just in the process of looking at it and processing it to make sure that this looks good. Yeah, and so when we collect all of this data, we then put all of it into a model. We do basically like a global minimization model to extract the shear flow and wall slip components. To extract the shear flow and wall slip components here. And when we fit our data to these models, we can extract these fit parameters related to wall slip and shear flow and calculate the slip and shear components of the apparent strain rate during extrusion. This is some preliminary data that we collected a couple months ago before we implemented a better camera and so better optics in our squeeze flow setup. So we did like saw that this data wasn't 100% trustworthy, in that when we looked at the slip component, we saw it in the data range that we were interested in, or in the shear range, the stress range that we're interested in, right here. We are looking at like 100% slip, and we just couldn't really draw any good conclusions, really see if that was valid. And so we have updated our system since then, and like I said, we've collected new data just in the process of working through it and processing it and looking at everything together. So going forward, we're going to be doing a lot more of this geometry that I talked about on multiple compositions, as well as going into printing with these materials, and then characterizing those prints using multiple different techniques. But the first one we'll be doing is raising incidence by scattering to look at alignment of our fibers in our filaments.
Do you have any idea how large the fibers in your ink are right now or not?
I can tell you the aspect ratio is 1 to 200.
Okay.
That is one thing that I wanted to characterize using SACS as well, is get good, actually quantify particle size and dimensions well using that. So that is to come.
I think up to about 10 microns or so, lengthwise. Like nano radius.
These are built out of,
I'm
Sorry?
these are built out of,
Yeah.
that's about 100 microns.
Okay. Okay.